you. Good morning, everybody, and apologies for the Gonzalez craziness this morning. But we're here and we're ready to start. I'd like to open the meeting by introducing myself, B. Gonzalez, Chair of the Authority and Canal Corporation Governance Committee meeting. I'd also like to welcome to the meeting members John Canal, Dennis Trainer, Cecily Morris, and Louis Warren. Welcome staff members that are present from Napa and Canals. This meeting is scheduled in accordance with this meeting has been scheduled with, okay, catch my breath. The meeting has been duly noticed and is recognized by law, by the open meetings law. And I would like to call this joint authority and governance canal meeting to order. May I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right. So, are there any amendments to the agenda from the committee this morning?
Happy to move the agenda as presented.
Thank you, John. May I have a second, please? Is that Louis?
Second.
Okay, now.
Trustee Trainer.
Oh, Dennis,
Aye.
thank you. I'd like to state that the next portion of the meeting will be held in executive session. And I ask for a motion to conduct an executive session to discuss the financial and credit history of a particular corporation pursuant to law 105F of the Public Officers Law.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We will now be shifting to executive session. May I ask for a motion to resume the meeting in open session?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Let me state that no votes were taken during the executive session, and let's move right on and invite Nancy Harvey, Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, up to the podium to begin our session, our information session.
All right. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Trustees, colleagues, and members of the public. I'm happy to be here to give an update on diversity, equity, and inclusion at NIPA and Canals. My name is Nancy Harvey. I'm the Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. And as we know, next slide, please. Okay. So at NIPA and Canals, we're committed to a more inclusive workplace, and I'm saying a more inclusive and accessible culture. And we want to make sure everyone can work, live, and enjoy New York. Since March, we've continued to see the impact of our foundational work to build on the 10-point plan and/or DEI strategy. Today, you will hear about our progress. And we're going to start with my colleague, Kaela Mainsah. She's going to talk about environmental justice.
Thank you, Nancy. Good morning, everyone, and good morning, trustees. Again, my name is Kaela Mainsah, the Vice President of Environmental Justice. Today, I brought my colleague, Sarah Brannen, who is our newest member of the EJ team. She's the Director of Environmental Justice. Excuse my notes. I promised Sheila that I would only do 15 minutes because I have a lot to say and I can continue on and on. But as you can recall, I presented in March on the progress for 2024. So I'll skip through our progress to date, but just to briefly recap the three programs that EJ manages, which is Volunteer Corps, Future Energy Leaders Scholarship, and PTech. I'll then provide a glimpse into where we're thinking about going in the future. So for the EJ Community Volunteer Corps and the Future Energy Leaders Scholarship, we're on target to deliver our goals. Once again, we've seen tremendous interest from NIPA employees. The Volunteer Corps is an opportunity to really build that culture of service in the communities we operate. For our Future Energy Leaders Scholarship, we continue to support wraparound services and mentoring our college students. I'd like to thank Trustee Wheelock, who supported our annual conference in July this year. She was our keynote speaker, but she did so much more than that. Here's a photograph of her teaching drone technology. She stayed till the very end. Most importantly, Trustee Wheelock engaged with every single family member that was there. Next slide, please. So for PTech, we successfully completed our 2024 summer internship for community stakeholders. We do continue to face attrition post-offer. So we're really leaning into understanding how we can support our interns more effectively. The biggest reason this year was transportation access, and yet again, a conflict between taking the NIPA internship and trying to complete extra credits for the summer. So we've received great support from our internal partners in HR. I remember sitting down with Karina Zaslow, who personally reviewed the opportunities for expanded support, sorry. And so thank you. And of course, John Canale and Eric Alemany help us in contracting with diverse suppliers to support program administration. Outside of PTech, we're supporting other paid internship programs. In 2024, we supported an additional 44 interns through summer youth employment programs and an energy-related GED program for NYCHA residents. Those are some of the ways that we're exploring more ways to scale up, given some of the administrative challenges that we're experiencing through PTech. Externally, we're working closely with our network of educational partners. SUNY trustee Stan Littow and the SUNY Provost Office have been working with us on how we can enhance our participation in PTech. The photograph shows Trustee Gonzalez, who was our keynote speaker for our PTech final presentation, Trustee Stan Littow, and of course, Justin Driscoll. Again, thank you, Trustee Gonzalez, for leaning in and again, really engaging with every single participant of that PTech scholarship, the PTech final presentation. The interns were very, very appreciative of your attendance. Everyone seemed to want to take a photograph with Auntie B, and I was trying to work out who they were talking about. Well, the African mom in me said, "You will address her as Trustee Gonzalez." So anyway,
the emails are coming, Auntie B.
Next. Auntie B, yes, everyone's calling Auntie B. Next slide, please. So what's next? Based on what we've learned over the past few years, EJ is really excited to begin looking forward and ahead to the next several years of our work. We'll be building on our successes, what we've learned in deploying these 3 programs. And we've been thinking about what's the greatest impact in environmental justice communities. So we're focusing on 4 new pillars: public energy education, workforce development, community energy projects, and community benefits and funding. Some of the programs we're envisioning within these 4 pillars will be building on the signature programs such as scholarships and internships. However, we now see an opportunity to think strategically about how we can best align with NYPA's most important strategic goals, like renewables, transmission, decarbonization. NYPA is expanding into new geographies, and we're exploring what community investments and what a benefit means as part of that expansion. We're looking into ways of enhancing our community engagement through public education so that communities can learn about clean energy infrastructure, what it means to host, and begin to see themselves as part of that clean energy transition, and also envisioning a future career in that sector. And we're very excited about future partnerships with Sandra Blakeman and Laurie Alessio on connecting our stakeholders to workforce development opportunities. I think Sandra probably runs every time she sees it, like, I've got an idea for you all the time. But to achieve this alignment, we're working across departments to identify synergies and partner on projects and programs. We're also partnering on federal and state funding applications with operations, with R&D, with Daniela on innovation, and particularly customer project delivery and custom commercial operations, Maribel's team, to bring new resources into NYPA's communities and to support a new era of community investment. So I wanted to show 2 case studies that illustrate exactly what that looks like. So next slide, please. So this case study is really how we supported Alan Ettlinger's R&D team. They applied for a long duration battery storage demonstration, funding from the Department of Energy's Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations. This is a $13 million federal grant. It's awarded to our partner, Urban Electric Power. EJ's role was really to support the R&D team and UEP to write and submit this application, the community benefit portion of it. And EJ is responsible for implementing the community benefit plan. Through this grant, we're going to hire Kinetic Communities Consulting, KC3. They're a community-based partner that have an incredible reputation for working with government partners on community engagement on climate-related topics. They are a trusted partner. They're part of the advocate community. And so we're excited to work with them to develop a new community curriculum focused on this particular technology. And we hope that this will help highlight the new forms of research that NYPA is supporting in terms of the energy transition, but also demystifying this topic for the general public. So we'll be hosting community advisory programs at the demonstration sites. We'll be deploying this curriculum. We'll be incorporating internships and scholarships. And these activities exemplify how we will fulfill our public energy education pillar through strategic partnerships and aligning with NYPA's focus on renewables and innovations in battery storage. R&D and UEP are now finalizing their working agreements, and this project is starting soon with demonstration projects on SUNY Oneonta and in Valhalla. The project will run from 2024 to 2031, with EJ programs focused in 2025 through 2028. And as NYPA Renewables continues to develop and grow, energy storage will become increasingly important. And we're also hearing from communities across the state, ranging from curious to concerned about hosting this infrastructure. And so this DOE-funded project will help us develop that public education, the content, the curricula, the roadmap for robust and responsible community outreach, which prioritizes underserved communities. So that's an example of how we're going to incorporate and learn and build from what we have. The next case study is going to be presented by Sarah Brannen. Sarah joined us in March. As part of our Propel New York transmission line, we were sitting and thinking about what a community benefit could look like as part of that project. And so between myself, communications, and our partners in Transco, we sat and we applied for a concept paper, and we just put our wish list of community benefits. And we got a call from the DOE, and they said that we were approved to go to the next stage. And then we panicked because we thought, who's going to implement this? And Sarah came in and she really took the bull by the horns, and she's done a tremendous job in putting together the implementation plan and partnering. So we wanted to make sure that she presents that. Thank you, Sarah.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us. So as Kaela mentioned, the next case study that we believe really illustrates our emerging EJ 2.0 approach is what we're calling the Propel New York Sustainable Communities Initiative. So we crafted this initiative comprised of existing and new EJ programs and community energy projects in response to a federal funding opportunity through the DOE called the Transmission, Siting, and Economic Development Program, or more easily said, TSED. So the federal policy goal for this funding opportunity was to support and expedite the development of transmission projects nationally by providing funding for communities impacted by the construction of these projects to accompany that construction timeline and provide concrete economic development and community benefits. So we have looked at this grant opportunity, and one of the emerging and really pressing goals for the federal government is through the Justice 40 initiative to make sure that 40% of federal resources are spent in disadvantaged communities. So understanding that as a really clear parameter for this grant proposal, we began by looking at all of the disadvantaged communities along the Propel route. And we identified 4 of them: the village of Rockville Center, Hempstead Village, the Bronx, and New Rochelle. We then went to our customer solutions colleagues and also customer project delivery to think about a targeted approach for providing community benefits and projects in those 4 communities. So together, collaborating with them, we designed this initiative to further our 4 pillars: public education, workforce development, and also community benefit or community energy projects with this federal funding. So this is going to be a collaborative implementation strategy with customer solutions and customer project delivery. We'll also look forward to working with SSM and supplier diversity on a variety of programs along the Propel route once it breaks ground in 2026 until its completion at the end of 2029. So the kinds of things that we'll be doing with these federal funds, and this is a $43 million award, which is great, and requires a $3 million match. So that's a pretty good match requirement by federal standards. So the kinds of things that we're going to be hosting in the public education pillar includes things like adult energy literacy programs. And this is an opportunity for us to go out into these communities and talk about renewable energy, talk about transmission, talk about NYPA's strategic goals, but also how all of these topics can be leveraged for community members, either for their careers or small business opportunity, MWBE opportunities. And we'll also be going out into high schools and K through 12 after school programs to do education on STEM and use that as a vehicle and an opportunity to talk about the transmission project and why it's so important to climate mitigation in the future. And then we'll also be working with our colleagues in workforce development, and we'll be developing clean energy internships, similar to how we've done the PTech internship, but targeting young people in these communities specifically. And we'll also be deploying scholarships to the community along the Propel route. And we're already talking to Eric and Will about doing engagement in these communities around supplier diversity. And we're going to start that sooner rather than later so that there's some positive storytelling in these communities as we're gearing up for the construction of this project. And then lastly, we have community energy projects. So next year we'll be starting energy efficiency audits with 4 customers in those 4 communities so that they have concrete benefits coming into their institutions, into their communities. And then starting the year after, we'll have $37 million to deploy in those customers' facilities toward the end of these energy efficiency projects. We're also exploring the possibility of small-scale solar to see whether or not those projects will be possible as well, which then would also align with NYPA Renewables goals. So in this way, we're trying to further all 4 of our new EJ pillars through this one initiative, while also providing concrete benefits to customers and concrete benefits to the communities impacted by the Propel construction. So we think this is a really good case study for how we can weave these 4 pillars together and also align our EJ benefits in communities with our strategic or core business goals. So thank you.
So did I hear correctly that you've already been authorized the grant, or you're in the next process of bidding of the process for the grant? I didn't quite understand at the beginning.
Yeah, thank you for the question. We have been selected for an award, which means we have been selected to negotiate a grant agreement with the Department of Energy. At this stage, we're working with our grants compliance staff to complete some pro forma forms. And the next stage is to engage in meetings with DOE to negotiate the grant award. We've heard that that should start the end of October, early November.
Okay, so I guess my silly question is, regardless of what happens in November, this grant is you can count on this grant continuing to exist. Or is that
we sure hope so.
Okay, I just was curious because
the key word is authorization, right? I guess that my understanding is if your money's, if you're authorized for the grant, then regardless of what happens, the money will come, but otherwise there's a possibility that it won't, I guess is the point I'm trying to make.
We've been told that these monies are appropriated already, and so that they're
Excellent.
already committed. Right, but what happens is, as Charles always points out, the compliance and the scrutiny in terms of the negotiation of exactly how much you get, that might change, and especially in ensuring that that there's going to be significantly much more oversight, depending if there's a change in government.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that for me. And it is an exciting project, right? The collaboration across all of the sectors. My time with you at the P-TECH event, I think what got me the most jazzed up was the couple of things I want to share is the excitement in the students' eyes and the energy that the students emanated as they delivered their projects, and the diversity of the group and the diversity of the geography represented in the group. So thank you so much for keeping all those things in balance and pushing forward on the equity piece. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Okay, thank you. It's my opportunity to introduce Eric Alemany, one of our key strategic partners internally.
Good morning.
Good morning. So thank you, Kaela and Sarah, for the update. And good morning, Chair Gonzalez, Board of Trustees, NYPA leadership, as well as members of the public. My name is Eric Alemany, Senior Director of Supplier Relationship Management for the New York Power Authority. And I appreciate the opportunity to provide an update on supplier diversity efforts. So over the last 40 years, NYPA and Canals has supported communities statewide by investing over $1.8 billion with diverse businesses. When we began the DEI journey back in 2020, we committed to be bolder by building capacity and capabilities among minority, women-owned businesses, service-disabled businesses, as well as small businesses statewide. Why? To give MWBEs, SDVOBs, and small businesses an opportunity to compete for public contracts that are happening in communities, in their own communities. So what have we done so far? We have launched 4 business development programs. So one is our small business education capacity building program aimed to engage businesses in early stages of their development. Surety bond training program, which is aimed at providing businesses opportunities to gain access to capital, as well as enhance their back office operations. The Mentor Protege program aimed to scale up and develop a mutually beneficial relationship between prime contractors as well as diverse businesses. And then finally, our newest program, On the Canal's Accessibility Education Program. You're going to hear more about the details about this program in a little while, shortly. We also continue to promote the work that NYPA and Canals is doing statewide by doing outreach events, workshops, info sessions, webinars, external publications. For example, in May, NYPA and Canals held its annual Supplier Diversity Expo in White Plains, New York. Over 600 attendees, both in person as well as virtual, were in attendance, as well as 60 exhibitors participated. And so the theme was really focused on build powerful connections for a brighter community. And that's exactly what happened. We were able to achieve that by interacting large contractors with diverse businesses, as well as having diverse businesses connect with procurement staff, with other agencies and authorities, as well as large prime contractors. In addition, in the spring, NYPA held its Northern New York Procurement Exchange in Syracuse, and we had about 70 attendees in there. Information was shared about projects happening in the St. Lawrence County over the next couple of years. And again, I wanted to just give a quick shout out. B. Gonzalez was there and present. Thank you so much for your support. It was really well received, so thank you again. We also continue to work with NYPA and Canal staff to maximize diverse spend on projects, whether directly or through prime contractors. Next slide. As I previously mentioned, our newest initiative is the On Canals Accessibility Education Program. As we explored areas of need for diverse businesses, we were looking at where there may be some gaps in inclusivity. Did you know 80% of everyone's health and wellness takes place outside of medical offices? 1 of 4 Americans live with disabilities, many more with medical conditions or aging-related changes. Recreational settings are essential, are essential for providers of social, emotional, mental, and physical health. So we looked at New York State, and more specifically, the Canal system, and said, there is a great opportunity here.
Yeah.
The literal geographic footprint of impact can lead to a statewide accessible community development. There's over 500 linear miles of canal system. There's over 200 villages and businesses statewide that we can access and engage. It's a backyard to international appeal, sets up the Erie Canal as a potential leader in local and national and international accessible tourism. So why not create the first ever inclusive and intentional program for recreation and tourism? Therefore, in July, we launched the program. The program is available to On the Canal's providers. Currently working with us is the Rochester Accessible Adventures organization. They've been doing a fantastic job. Part of the program includes a 1-year mentored training to enable businesses to understand their operations through a lens of inclusion. We also ensure alignment of the strategic inclusion plan by the state with recommended strategies within business programming, policies, and operations that remove barriers to participation by people with disabilities. We provide intentional outreach and engagement of individuals living with disability. And we also have established a sustainable inclusion process to ensure equitable access year after year. Through partnership with Director Stratton and Nancy Harvey, we've received great feedback from the community. So we're really excited about this program. Next slide. So I just wanted to take a quick pause to give some stats on where we are thus far. So just to give you some context, some of the stats here are through the middle of this year because we do annual reporting and everything's collected on a quarterly basis. We're actually closing our 3rd quarter right now. So this is the reason why I just wanted to kind of outline that. But more specifically, so from an MWBE spend, we've spent nearly $53 million in payments through June and $5.5 million with service-disabled veteran-owned businesses. What does that mean? Well, we're actually on track for meeting our goals, which from our previous year, it was 24% of our eligible spend, where our goal for this year is 25%. So we're really on track to meet the goals appropriately. We've had 17 outreach events, again, statewide, trying to reach folks all the way from Niagara down to Long Island and let them know about what's happening in their communities. We've had close to 90 graduates through our programs that are offered through our small and local business program that I mentioned earlier, as well as our surety bond training program. And then finally, we have 9 active mentor-protege teams that are working together to enhance their relationships to, again, partner on some of the existing projects that we're doing statewide. Next slide. So as we look at the rest of 2024 and beyond, we're looking at 5 priorities. Stronger. We're looking to build strong relationships with suppliers to drive innovation and value. With bold, I mentioned bold, we're trying to be bolder here. With the expanded authority that the Power Authority now has, we have an opportunity to establish new goals, different goals, to align with the Vision 2030 refresh or renewed that's in progress right now. We want to be more impactful. So we're evaluating major projects like Propel New York and some of the major initiatives that we have right now to ensure that we're being very inclusive in some of the opportunities. We're being focused on who are the businesses that we want to engage to introduce them to our various business development programs, get them ready for the work that we're happening now and over the next 5-10 years. And then very strategic. How can we work with key suppliers to extract value and really match them up with diverse businesses, again, to get them ready for projects like Propel New York, which we're partnering right now with the EJ team, with community affairs and project management to really drive opportunities and engage communities appropriately. Just want to kind of close with, I want to, take a moment to say thank you on behalf of John Canale, SSM. We continue to bring, to the board updates of what we're doing right now. We're excited about the opportunities here, and we're just working on trying to be bigger and bolder. If there's any questions.
I have a
can't.
question.
Yes.
Is that Cecily?
Yes, it is. So what do we have in place for feedback from the entities we're targeting?
Great question. So right now, I mean, a lot of the feedback that we've received, across the state is really just how can we work together? What are some opportunities? How can we onboard in our systems? But more specifically, it's what's in the pipeline. I think a lot of the feedback that we're hearing from suppliers is really what does the next 6 months look like, so that way they can plan their resources appropriately to compete. So it's really just getting more insight on specific timeframes of projects, so that way on their end they can kind of plan accordingly and be able to respond.
And are they asking particularly for any other than timelines, other than what's in the pipeline, what's in the future? Are they asking for any particular presentations or opportunities to speak with mentors or anything like that?
Great question. Yes. So the short answer is through our supplier relationship management team, they actually reach out to us to try to make introductions with some of our existing prime contractors. And so what we'll do is A, we'll make some of those introductions, but B, we'll also have set up supplier capability presentations to present to NYPA and Canal staff of their capabilities. And it's a great opportunity, because then from there, our folks within our organization now are aware of the capabilities of some of these firms. We actually work with our senior leadership staff. I know I'm looking at Rob Piasek. There's a lot of vendors that reach out to him and other folks in the organization, just again to present what are their capabilities, how can they be ready to compete, what are some of the needs that we're looking for in the short term or midterm future.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Because I have Eric, how well has that matching kind of process been going for you? Where you're introducing the subs to the primes, et cetera, or the reverse, right?
It's been really successful. Again, I think one of the challenges in the industry is just getting to know who the right folks are, right? At the end of the day, it's really that. And so being able to have diverse businesses have a direct contact within a organization, whether it's a large prime contractor that we're currently working with, is helpful, so that way at least they can establish a relationship. It may not materialize anything in the short run, but again, it's always about the long, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon,
Right.
on that end. So it's really looking at, what types of relationships you can establish now that may materialize in the future. And so I think from that's one of the things that we're able to kind of set ourselves apart, is really that matchmaking aspect.
I have to tell you that I had a call from the Upstate Minority Economic Alliance folks inviting me to the event that you're doing in Syracuse. And one of the things that they pointed out, and I want to share because I think it's important, is the request from you that they hire MWBEs to be the support to the event, right? The caterer, the event planner, et cetera. So I like it when we live our values all the way through our processes and our activities. So thank you very much. That made quite the impression here.
Thank you. That's great feedback, and I'll bring it back to the team. Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
Yeah, thanks, B. Eric, I'm always trying to focus on how we can deepen the supplier pool. So you talked about the amount of spend. Are we spending more with the same number? Are we spending more with an increasing number? What more can we do to deepen the pool of suppliers, in the underrepresented space?
So, great question. And so what we have been doing is, expanding the number of suppliers. Ultimately, what we're we are engaging a lot of our suppliers or prime contractors to establish those relationships. And so what we're finding is that we're expanding the pool of diverse suppliers. Yes, there are some folks that we've grown those relationships. For example, I will point out we have a supplier that a women-owned business supplier that historically has been a subcontractor, and now she's been winning prime contracts. So this is a great opportunity where, yes, now we've kind of grown that relationship. The spend is kind of increased on that, and those are the wins that we're looking to do. It's not just expanding the pool, but how can we build those capabilities? And so it's definitely a balancing. So it's growing our spend with suppliers that are doing really good work, winning some of those larger contracts, but then also bringing some new blood to the relationship, and getting them to expand. So we have been kind of balancing the both, but we have been seeing new players, supporting a lot of the work that we're doing for NYPA and Canals.
And in terms of the renewables space, do we have opportunities to lean into that from the minority supplier end as well? Are there opportunities for us to accelerate, or are there more doors that can be opened there, more opportunities created? Again, trying to keep saying deepen the pool, but build a sustainable platform that lifts the overall economic vitality for the underrepresented that we're focused on here.
That is a great question. And so what I will say is that we are actually developing a program that is targeting renewables specifically. So we understand that as we have this expanded authority in place, we're actually developing a program that's looking to expand the capabilities among a number of our diverse businesses that will be a focus on renewable energies and our technologies. So we are looking to start training up a lot of the suppliers now to meet a lot of the work that, for example, Vanilla and company are developing in the future. We want to make sure that there are enough suppliers out there to meet those demands. And so that's really our next program that we're going to be launching, hopefully, in the next few months, that will be really engaging the supplier community to support this work.
Yeah, and hopefully not just in a way where the existing pool sees as another opportunity, but we're
New.
just
Growing.
adding more opportunities and, supporting and giving priority to those that the up and comers or those who have an interest but haven't had a chance or an opportunity. So yeah, that qualitative, not just quantitative measure to me is important.
Agreed. Yeah, that'll be our focus. Again, we see a big opportunity here, and we're excited to be able to have this as an offering in the near future.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent.
You're welcome. All right.
Thank you, Eric.
Well, thank you so much for your time. At this time, I'm going to turn this over to Nancy Harvey.
Okay, thank you, Eric. So the Office of Civil Rights and Inclusion continues to work with our partners across the organization on moving us towards inclusive and accessible organization. So this year, we intentionally focused on inclusion, innovation, and accessibility to align with our organizational goals of fostering a collaborative and innovative workplace. So I wanted to point out, we know that, or we've heard earlier, people with disabilities represent the largest minority group, numbering 1 billion worldwide. And so reaching a group of this scale creates value for everyone. And I will just share that in New York State, over 2 million people with disabilities reside across upstate. And in New York, 1 in 4 people identify as having disabilities, right? So just imagine the potential there. So organizations that prioritize accessibility benefit by gaining access to a much larger user base, and we're improving the experience for both disabled and non-disabled users and facilitating further innovation by doing so. By focusing on inclusion and accessibility, we ensure that every employee can contribute to their fullest potential, driving creativity and enhancing overall performance. This approach supports our Vision 2030, which emphasizes the importance of diversity and inclusion and accessibility in achieving our strategic objectives. Next slide, please. So focusing on inclusion, we align with New York's goal of becoming the top employment choice for people with disabilities. We aim to narrow the employment gap between people with disabilities and those without. And we know that doesn't happen without intention.
Right.
So our leaders continue to work across the organization to identify the policies, procedures, and people we need to evolve into a workplace where we can accommodate the needs of our employees and of our customers. So in collaboration with the Office of the Chief Disability Officer of New York State, the OCRI team is working on Executive Order 31's mandate to develop our strategy to increase and retain the number of people with disabilities. So today I'm highlighting what we've learned as we implement governance, policies, and procedures to support NYPA and Canal's goals. Next slide, please. This year, we launched an expanded demographic survey, which includes additional areas for people who identify as people with disabilities, LGBTQIA, Gender X, veterans, and the national origin of our Asian and Latino employees. And we received over 1,000 responses. But while this is a healthy response, it shows that we still have more work to do to create a safe space for people to be their full selves at work. This aligns with the new ERG that we will be launching in 2025, and I'll talk a little bit about that later on. We envision a workplace where talented people of all abilities, backgrounds, and experiences feel a sense of belonging and choose NYPA and Canals as their place of employment. And that starts with increasing our DEI competency and understanding the needs of our workforce. So to do this, we need to understand how our workforce identifies and what they need so we can better support them. Next slide, please. So we're creating a pipeline of diverse talent, and we know that it's essential for NIPA and Canal's continued innovation and success in achieving our Vision 2030. We remain committed to reviewing and improving our strategies to target those who identify as female, gender X, Hispanic or Latino, Native American or Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian, or Pacific Islander. We're using revised job descriptions. So using those revised job descriptions with reassessed educational and experience requirements for job postings is leading to a broader candidate pool. Our recruiters are completing or have completed DEI sourcing training. For prospective candidates, we're sharing total rewards examples to provide more transparency and a clearer view of total compensation. And so I can share that our continued efforts in making our recruitment, marketing, engagement, and hiring practices more inclusive in 2023 and 2024, it's resulted in a 76% increase of applicants over 2023. And we've attracted almost 4,400 applicants for our 2024 developmental intern program. I can also share that based on self-identification data, our 2024 cohort of developmental interns was 63, almost 64% racially diverse and 25% female, which is higher than or comparable to the representation of these groups internally across our organization. And so there was a new thing this year, intern conversion offers. We extended 9 offers to interns, and I can share they were diverse across regions and across genders. And I think it resulted in 1 intern being directly hired at one of our sites. There is also an internal working group, right? Talent acquisition and talent development have come together to create resources that will help internal candidates through the recruitment process, help them prepare and understand expectations to set up our internal candidates for success. Next slide, please. So we're learning from the DEI competency and from the engagement survey about where the OCRI team, as well as our talent development folks, can support the organization in taking action. We identified, right, that management and execution is our greatest strength, and that's celebrated across the organization, and it is phenomenal. But we've also learned that accountability is our greatest area for improvement. And so we've developed mandatory training around mastering feedback, because we know mastering feedback is a cornerstone of accountability to drive clarity for people managers and for our employees as a consistent practice. We're still working towards making sure people are having the same experience or similar experience across the organization, because the results, while they overall trended positively, we learned that there were still individuals who experienced the workplace differently. So we're working towards building that accountability strength. Next slide, please. So to support the organization, the Office of Civil Rights and Inclusion continues to work on certain things, right? So this year, we published an article on the PowerNet. It was, or many articles, one around ageism, one about politics in the workplace, and we hosted an ethics conversation. We shared a safety moment at the September All Hands on navigating political speech and maintaining a civil work environment. We engaged our employee resource group leaders on an important aspect of the people and values workshops, and they were able to help us by providing input on the culture and the future of NIPA and Canals. Additionally, we've leveraged our partners across the organization to produce a newsletter to the organization, including a DEI section and a highlighted portion so that they can see it quickly. And we continue to train our new hires within 60 days of onboarding. We have a new hires DEI training. As of September, we've trained 84 employees, 84 new hires who come in and understand what our expectation is and what the culture is that we're trying to build here. We've created targeted opportunities for senior women to develop mid-level women. So there's this new initiative. We joined Chief for our senior women executives to participating executive coaching sessions and other opportunities to build that DEI competency around like inclusive leadership and listening to all perspectives. And we're excited about that because we're expecting our senior women to now coach and mentor mid-level women who are up and coming in the organization. Next slide, please. So we're expanding our ERGs to support more employees, and we're excited about that too. Over the last year, we've put additional governance in place to scale our employee resource groups and engage more employees. So we've implemented that new ERG policy to guide the creation of these groups at people's discretion. And out of that, we've also, well, I'll get back to that. We've also leveraged the ERG groups for recruitment. We're looking at a multifaceted approach because we believe by leveraging our ERGs, we can identify potential candidates from underrepresented groups who may have been overlooked by traditional recruitment channels. And our ERGs are essential drivers of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility within our organization. So we're continuing to evaluate how to support employees in experiencing the ERGs. And next week, our Women in Power ERG will host their biannual Women's Leadership Summit. The theme this year, Elevate Your Voice and Amplify Your Impact. And they've been planning this summit all year. It's currently limited to 100 women, but it has the potential to serve more as we are always looking for ways to increase engagement there. Next slide, please. So seeing the impact of governance already with expanded engagement, we have interest in a new ERG. It will be an ERG on neurodiversity and abilities, and it will focus on supporting and advocating for individuals with neurodivergent conditions or disabilities and abilities. And it's ensuring they have the necessary accommodations, resources, and advocacy within our organization. This ERG will aim to create an inclusive and supportive environment for individuals with diverse neurocognitive profiles. So we're excited about that. We're looking for a new executive sponsor too. I have 2 candidates so far. Next slide, please. So our DEI program managers have been key in increasing regional participation. They are located in the sites and they travel to meet with our human resources business partners and our regional manager leadership to provide strategic support on how to leverage the DEI programs to support people goals. And we continue to evaluate how we can scale programs from a White Plains and address gaps to ensure the DEI programs are accessible across all the sites. And we want to increase the direct feedback and voice of the sites in development of these programs. This year, our managers provided programming throughout the year, and they touched on a lot of different initiatives. I don't want to go through all of them, but I do want to share some important aspects. So we engaged students from Buffalo Prep during Black History Month. We engaged students from the Northland Workforce Training Center. And I want to say being able to attend things hybrid and virtual has helped tremendously in meeting the challenge of like transportation and time, right? The If You See, You Can Be It program resulted in over 200 children participating from NYPA families and from external communities, some of which were in Niagara and White Plains. Next year, we will expand this to canals. We're going to try for canals in April of 2025. So that's expanding the program. And at Clark, I want to call out that there were 3 microgroups started at Clark around veterans, women in power, and generations. And this was in response to feedback that the meeting dates kind of are White Plains centric and doesn't meet the needs of the site. So Clark started their microgroups, and the two of the 3 pilot groups are still going strong. So we're excited about that, and that the sites are being are being energized and supported in meeting and talking through things on their terms, right? This month, we recognize National Coming Out Day and Global Inclusion Month. And these events that we have are not just celebrations, but strategic initiatives that promote diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility within NYPA and Canals. So we're supporting all employees in developing their DEI competency through an organization-wide Inclusion Day, which was yesterday, with attorney and disability advocate Haben Gurma. So Haben, just so you know, is the first deafblind graduate of Harvard Law School, and she serves as a commissioner on the New World Health Organization Commission of Social Connection. So yesterday was fantastic, and I've gotten so much feedback. I was moved. People were moved in and inspired into action. I will tell you what happened. So we had Haben. She gave her dynamic keynote address, and then it was followed by a facilitated discussion across all the sites. EMC participated here in White Plains. We had rooms in Jaguar and across all the sites. People were sharing their thoughts on how we can be more accessible in our particular business areas. We took an additional hour to make sure we discussed what we learned in June on benevolent marginalization. And Justin Driscoll here shared how we can have an impact by ensuring our programs are accessible to all our employees and to our customers. So the same group of leaders were able to listen in to a representative from the Chief Disability Officer of New York State yesterday. And I think overall, it was a great engagement. Visually, it challenged our myths around what a disabled and people with disabilities look like, how they function, and what is possible around innovation when we challenge ableism and think, how can we include others? How can we make something accessible? Similar to the Canal's recreation program, right? Next slide, please. As we define, oh, maybe that was supposed to be a slide. As we define our path forward, next slide, please. As we define our path forward, we've evolved our DEI working group to the ideals team, right? The ideals means inclusion, diversity, equity, accessibility, and leadership strategy. And we continue to meet monthly to continue our cross-functional discussion. Next slide, please. So since January, we've discussed our priorities, the challenges and opportunities, and we've heard best practices for engaging DEIA to drive action through our employee resource groups. In June, we heard from Justin, has been a big participant in our Ideals team initiative. And so Justin shared in June at our DEI summit about the board's energy to go big and evolve the 10-point plan to build, grow, and champion the programs we've created. Programs like the Connected Leaders Academy, the Pathways Program, the Future Energy Leaders Scholarship, and our employee resource groups. And given the significant goals across our organization, Justin also reminded us that we needed everyone to belong. We needed to be successful, and we need to be on board and ready to work together. So over the summer, the Ideals team continued to meet, and we aligned on how to support the development of a compelling vision for diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility that creates an umbrella for cross-organizational activity that connects to NYPA and Canal's mission and that uniquely positions our contributions. So our time as a group and in breakout sessions has created space to listen to what is needed to contribute to driving action towards shared goals. And I'm confident that in the coming months, the Ideals team will develop a strategy forward that supports the Vision 2030 goals and our commitment to a culture of inclusion and accessibility. So with that, thank you. And are there any questions?
Nope. Well, Nancy, I just want to say thank you, right, for the comprehensive work. And I really appreciate you used one of my favorite words when it comes to this work, and that is intentional. And clearly you're that. I'm looking forward to we continue to evolve and grow, right? I'm looking forward to the continued boldness in the work that we're doing. And I expect that with the expanded authority and the work that's coming from there, that this is really going to bubble up in a way we probably didn't expect. Are there any questions?
I've just got one specific one, Nancy. I mean, first of all, playing off of B's comments there, yeah, there's always a lot here. Nancy, appreciate the time and the update. Obviously, there's a lot going on. As I try to digest all that, it's what can you do to help us better understand the impact of a lot of activity? So I'm not sure what the answer to my question is, but I'd ask you to think about your presentations are always very dense. I mean that in a complimentary way, there's always a lot there, but it's like, okay, what are my takeaways from this? We're doing a lot. Is it having impact? Is it affecting change? Is it creating that rising tide that lifts all boats, as I'm prone to say? So think about how you can better frame that for us to determine, as we continue to think bigger, where can we have the most impact and what isn't working and what else can be done. No implication it isn't. I'm just trying to figure out how I take that out of what otherwise is a very comprehensive presentation. My one specific question or point of clarification, I think I'm going back to whatever it is, slide 15, and at least on my deck, or slide 19, creating a pipeline of diverse talent. You said it's the first time we extended intent to hire to graduating interns. And I thought I heard you say we extended 9 offers and only got one acceptance. If I heard that correct. So I'm trying to clarify, did I hear that correctly? And 1 out of 9 is not a good batting average to play to the season here. So can you talk to that for a minute?
Yes, Karina is going to clarify.
Sure. Now, there was one direct hire from the intern program. It was a graduate student that was directly hired into a posted position. The other 9 were intent to hires to other candidates so that as they became graduates, as they entered into their graduation year and became graduates, they know they have a job offer from us, and they have responded back with interest in coming to NYPA.
So we were one.
So there's one direct hire.
So we made
one direct hire and 9 intent.
And so how many offers did we make, Karina? I mean, is that 1 for 1, or
we made 9 offers. Yep.
But only 1 is eligible for employment right now, you're saying?
1 applied to a posted position as a graduate student. They were eligible for that hire. The other 9 need to complete their education and then and are going into that graduating year with a job offer in hand.
And the 9 is
So
the 9 is out of how many?
Ooh, we have off the top of my head,
50?
I forget how many
We had 50
interns we had.
We had 50 plus or
Right,
whatever,
but
I think.
Remember, our the developmental intern program is open to students who are freshmen all the way through to seniors and graduates, right? So that 40 number is not really.
They're not eligible.
Relatable. It's not apples to apples when you're talking about the offers and the intent to hire that was made. And the intent to hire is important because it is, I want to call it the last piece, if you will, of the pipeline to the future leaders coming into NYPA. So we offer the scholarship programs, we offer the internships, and now we're able to make some commitments to folks who are about to graduate.
Right. I believe of the intern population we had, there were about 17 or 18 who were going into a graduating year, and 9 received direct offers.
four roles we know we needed to fill.
Okay, well, think about how you can come back to us with a little more depth of info there. I realize this is about exposing the population to our world and energy space and all the rest of it. It's not a hiring program, per se. On the other hand, yeah, anything that we can be, my question is, what else could we be doing to further help ourselves by helping the right people, or what we can do to better identify candidates where we can offer continuing opportunity. While that's not the only objective for them and us, that's a win. So I'm not sure how you assess the current outcomes. If it's you're really pleased, or yep, there's work to be done, but that's all I'm trying to get at.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll take a look and get back to you
Okay.
on that.
Anyone else? Before we move on to Ron Carroll. Ron, I apologize that we're running short on time, but I know you'll do a great job.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. As Trustee Gonzalez said, I'm Ron Carroll, VP of Product Development and Data Management. I am co-leading the AI strategy development with Marwan Mahdi within our innovation office. And so I'm here to provide an update on our AI journey. I want to focus on a few things: the progress that we've made so far, use case identification, and how we're balancing the delivery of use cases with the risk associated with AI. I'll get into some details about a few use cases so I can give some examples of exactly what we're doing. And then I'll talk about some of our external engagement. Next slide, please. So when I provided an update in March of this year, we were very early on in our AI journey and really the focused attention on our AI strategy. We had just kicked off our 4 work streams that focused on risk, governance, technology, change management, and use case prioritization. We had a draft of a Gen AI policy, and we were in the initial proof of concept of a NIPA version of ChatGPT. So if we fast forward 7 months to where we are today, we've accomplished a lot. I heard Eric say it's a marathon. I feel like we've been sprinting a marathon, but we've developed a strategy and are transitioning really from a startup mode to more of an operational mode. Our AI strategy includes over 50 use cases aligned with Vision 2030. We have an organizational structure to enable and then apply AI. We have a roadmap of activities we need to focus on to continue to make progress. We created an AI risk register to assess the potential risk of implementing AI and make sure we have the proper controls in place. We created an AI governance framework so we can implement AI solutions responsibly. We've actually reviewed that framework with one of our advisory partners, and they commented that a lot of companies aren't thinking the way we are in terms and aren't where we are in terms of thinking about how we're going to govern AI. We created a prioritization process to identify the value and feasibility of use cases. The Gen AI policy is now official, and as other policies are coming up for recertification, we are reviewing those strategies with an AI lens to see if we need to add any specific AI language. We completed a pilot of the NIPA version of ChatGPT, and we're in the process of rolling that out. I'll share more details later on. We've initiated multiple use cases to deliver business value. We have an inventory of all the models that we're using. We have an inventory of the platforms and technologies that we're using that have an AI component. So there's a lot that we've accomplished over the last 7 months. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we've identified 50 plus use cases. In order to do that, I'm sorry, was there a question? No, okay. In order to do that, we actually partnered with the Lead Blue Leadership Development Program, and we interviewed close to 30 leaders from across the NIPA and Canals organization to understand business challenges and the potential for AI to assist with those challenges. We continue to partner with other utilities, advisory groups, technology vendors, industry experts to understand how other organizations are leveraging AI and how we could potentially learn from them. And we continue to receive requests just from across the organization on potential use cases. You can see examples of use cases here on the slide. These are either specific use cases or categories of use cases. But what I want to really focus on with this slide is how we are delivering those use cases. If you see at the bottom of the slide, we have the responsible AI principles that we're following. When we talk about being beneficial, okay, a use case aligned with Vision 2030, but also a balance with the risk, and does the value outweigh the risk that could potentially be introduced with the use case? Safe and secure. We want to make sure we're following our cybersecurity standards, our data protection standards, accountability. I introduced this term, the term human in the loop, in the last update I provided. We want to make sure that AI is not just making the decisions. We actually have humans in the loop that are actually leveraging AI to help assist with the decisions that we're making. Inclusive. We want to make sure that AI is we're either eliminating or minimizing any of the creation of unfair biases with AI. And transparency. If we are using AI, we want to make sure our stakeholders know that we're using AI and understand the measures that we've put in place to deliver responsible AI. Next slide, please. So I want to get into a few examples of use cases that we've delivered or are working on. So I'm sure you've heard about our drone program, so that we have the drone program that's taking images of our assets. The example here is transmission lines. So you can imagine that the drones are taking hundreds of thousands of images. And for a human to go through each of those images and look for anomalies, they would likely miss them. And the time that it would take to do that, it's almost impossible to do so. On the left-hand side, you can see the image where you can kind of see that there's some fraying of the line, but on the right, this is where AI strips away the background noise, and you can really highlight the anomaly. This would be tagged as a place where we would need to go to investigate and do a further inspection to see if that condition is truly a condition that we need to address. This use case is using computer vision. I think in the update I provided in March, I talked about different types of AI. Computer vision is one type. Next slide, please. So this use case here, where we're using AI for our short-term and long-term load forecasting, this is actually a predictive model. And what this allows our energy traders to do, if you look at the image at the bottom, and I know it's small, so I don't intend for you to read the numbers on there. But on the y-axis, we have the price, and on the x-axis, we have the time of day. And the different lines represent similar weather days that the traders would look at and make their bidding into the market. One of the lines, there's a red line within there that's actually leveraging AI, and it's using information like weather, time of day, historic load, and that's helping to guide the trader on potential bidding strategy into the market. Now, the trader will often follow the guidance of AI. However, there may be conditions that the trader is aware of that the AI model isn't aware of. And so, for example, if a customer is taking, they're shutting down their factory for the day, well, that's going to decrease the load. So the trader is going to know that, and they're going to factor that into their decision-making process. The major lift from this type of solution is that every day the model is run and trained on historical data. It's also using AI to proxy any data where we don't have enough historical data to fill in some of those gaps. And again, that human in the loop concept where the trader isn't just following exactly what the AI is telling them to do, the trader's using other factors to make decisions. Next slide, please. So in the last update, I had provided a demo of our NIPA version of ChatGPT. We're actually rolling out this to the larger organization this week. There's an announcement that's going out tomorrow. We piloted the solution with 300 plus employees, and really that helped not only with understanding how we could leverage the solution, it helped with how would we roll it out to the larger organization, what training is needed. So the pilot, it's a model that we can actually follow as we introduce other solutions, and in how we ran the pilot and how we leverage the learnings from the pilot to then influence the full rollout. We've developed Gen AI policy training to promote responsible use of the tool. And the training is not just click on the policy, read the policy, and confirm that you read it. We actually have a quiz embedded in that training so that we want to make sure people are actually reading the policy. They understand kind of the do's and don'ts when they're leveraging this tool. And so really excited to roll this out. I think we'll get a lot of benefits, productivity benefits. We've named the tool Athena. Athena is the goddess of wisdom and knowledge. We thought that was appropriate. And we wanted to have a kind of a name that we can anchor on, because as we enhance the tool, right now it's more of a general purpose solution. But in the future, and I'll provide a demo at the end of my presentation, in the future, what we can do is actually point the tool to NIPA specific data to get answers. And actually we're working on a solution where it's more of a self-service solution, and you can upload a document and then interrogate that document and start to ask questions of it. So I'll provide a short demo at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. So we continue to engage, share, and learn. Engagement, we're involved with a number of industry organizations and state organizations. A few of the examples, I'm co-leading the Data and Analytics Subcommittee as part of the LPPC. Last week, we had a panel discussion. We actually had members of NIPA participating in that panel discussion to share our experience with governance and use cases. The Utility Analytics Institute, actually one of our team members is at that conference as we speak and is presenting one of our use cases at the conference. So we're really, we're both learning from the industry, but we're sharing what we learned so that we can bring the industry along with us. We're actually also partnering with a lot of our technology vendors. We meet with them on a weekly basis to work on use cases and understand how we could better use the technology. So with that, let me, I'm going to share my screen and I could do a really quick demo. One of the things that you'll see that the different types of AI, generative AI is the one that's probably easier to demo. And what I want to show here, this is a proof of concept that we've built for the corporate communications area. And so this is actually pointing at NIPA press releases, and that's all it's pointing at. So we're going to ask a question of it, write a series of talking points for Justin to say about NIPA's drone program. So we'll put that in, and this is going out, and this is looking at the, are you still able to see my screen? Yeah. Okay, so this went out, looked at press releases from NIPA, and you can see that it's.
We're not seeing your screen.
How about now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There you go.
All right, apologies for that. So you can see in the blue box here, I typed in a question, write a series of talking points for Justin to talk about our drone program, and the tool generated the response here, different topics that you can focus on, FAA waivers, safety and efficiency, technology and advancements. And one of the things that you'll notice here is the citation number. So you can see the number 4 here. And if you scroll down, we have 5 references that were identified when this question was asked. And so if I click on the reference, I can actually see the article that was used to create that talking point. And then if I click on this, I can link out to the website, and you could, this again goes back to the human in the loop concept, so that anyone that's using this information would be able to go out and say, oh, okay, where did this come from, and let me validate that the information is correct. One of the things that I want to show too is I've seen other companies that their chatbot, although it's pointing to their specific data, it's actually using general information as well. So you can see I typed in who won the 2023 Super Bowl. Well, the tool isn't able to answer that because it's pointing only to NIPA specific data. So you can see that it won't go out, and it's not going to hallucinate and create information just based on general information. So again, just a quick demo. These are some of the exciting things that we're doing. I know we were short on time, so hopefully you got the gist of what we're doing, and I'll open it up to any questions.
So it won't tell us if the Mets will win the World Series.
We know the answer to that, John. We know the answer.
All right, Dennis. Okay, we got Dennis. We don't need AI. We've got
We need a
Dennis.
predictive model for that.
I think instead of Athena, we should call it Dennis. Okay.
So are there any questions? I just want to say that
That's
AI.
impressive. Very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate the work that you've done. I brought this question up about 8 months ago because AI is a main topic of conversation for boards across the country. And I think you guys have done an amazing job addressing the key variables. How will our implementation of AI achieve business objectives? How it impacts our privacy? This closed loop, our impact to cybersecurity, impact to risk. So you've covered everything. I think the only thing left is now a follow-up to how are you going to measure, right? The effectiveness, the use of, et cetera, of what you're putting in place, and that'll be probably the follow-up meeting.
Okay, yeah. I know with take for example, the Athena, the pilot group, I have a lot of anecdotal benefits. I just the other day, I received 3 emails. Athena's great. It saved me all this time as I was trying to solve this problem, and I entered it in. It would have taken me weeks to solve that. So we've talked about, with that tool specifically, maybe having a pop-up where you can say how much time was saved, so that we're able to measure that value.
Okay.
And if I missed it, I apologize. So what's the magnitude of the Athena database?
So
Is it everything and anything within, NIPA or what?
Athena is actually using OpenAI has a model GPT 4.0, which is trained on data up to October of 2023. And so that data is using web data, books, information that's available in the public, and it's using that to train the model. There's no, if NIPA data is public, it would have been used to train that model. Like if I were to go in and ask who's the president of NIPA, it would respond Justin Driscoll. Athena, this is what we're rolling out, is that general purpose AI solution that, for example, if I were creating a policy, AI policy, I can type in create an AI policy, and it's going to go out and use information that's been available on the web, in the public, and it's going to create that policy. Now, I need to look at that, and this, again, is the human in the loop, and which is why the training, we wanted to make sure that people weren't just skimming through the training and not really understanding the Gen AI policy that we implemented. You have to review that. You have to fact check it, make sure that it's accurate, make it your own. So the version that we're rolling out is general purpose. And then what we're working on, there's a number of different use cases where we're pointing to NIPA specific data to then provide answers. So, asset information and manuals around our assets, work orders around our assets. That's a use case that we're working on to provide that information more rapidly to our engineers.
All right, thank you.
Build on this.
I think,
Anyone else?
Yes, Trustee Gonzalez or Chair Gonzalez. First, I want to thank you for flagging this AI issue about a year ago. You were very prescient to ask the board and NIPA to start to think about policies, use cases, how we move forward. And I just wanted to compliment the team here. Clearly, keeping a human in the loop is super important. I also like the citations, because you can, once you get the learnings from the AI, having the citations allow the human or the manager in that loop to go back and confirm that the data is good, because the AI is only as good as that the information and the data in the database. So just wanted to salute you, Chair Gonzalez, and salute the team, because this is exciting, and as long as we understand that it's a tool for executives and managers to use to make us all more efficient, I think it's fabulous for NIPA and by extension the citizens of New York State.
I agree. And thank you. Great job. I know you've been really busy with this, so.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, so now no votes have been required on either of these two items, but we are now moving into the consent agenda. So the consent agenda consists of routine housekeeping items now before the members for adoption. May I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The consent agenda is approved. The next meeting of the Joint Governance Committee is scheduled for March 18th, 2025. With that said, are there any last words, comments from anyone before I ask for a motion to adjourn?
Let's go Mets.
Okay. Let's go. So I take it
I'll
that
move the
is the
motion.
motion. Is there a second?
There's
I'll
a second.
Thank you.